So, with the most powerful Joestar in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure after all.
JoJo is a franchise with very powerful characters, and the Joestar family, the lineage of the protagonists. Today, we will rank the most powerful ones, according to our team's opinion. It's worth mentioning that we won't include the new JoJo from Part 9, JOJO Joestar, from the JoJo lands, in this list. Don't forget to follow the LSB protocol, which means liking, subscribing, and bell. When you follow the LSB protocol, you help spread the JoJo culture and disseminate this culture of effeminate men with super powerful stands. My name is Otavio Reyes, also known as the sexiest chubby guy alive, known here on the internet as Otto Anisong, and you are on the JoJo 99 channel. Joseph Joestar is the tour guide of JoJo Leon, the 8th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He wears a fancy suit, but has retarded-looking hair. He is basically the JoJo Leon version of Joseph, and is the grandson of Johnny Joestar. His stand doesn't have a name, so we politely call it Herman Men. It is a humanoid stand wrapped in purple lines that can use vines as a whip to strike precisely from a distance. This ability can be actively used by the stand, or passively by Joseph. Despite not using ripple or spin, having a stand has become an advantage against non-stand users. However, his stand only has this one ability and is much weaker than Jonathan or the original Joseph, so it makes sense to put him at the top of the list. Jonathan Joestar is our muscular hero from Phantom Blood. He has generic protagonist hair, wears generic protagonist gloves, a generic protagonist outfit, wields a generic protagonist sword, and dons a good pair of protagonist boots. In his prime, he could punch with Sunlight Yellow Overdrive at an impressive speed comparable to stand punches like Star Platinum's, even while underwater where people lose a lot of movement speed. He has also been able to punch at incredible speeds outside of water, which is further amplified after he received the ripple from William Zeppeli. As a demonstration of his strength, he was able to pull apart 3 thick steel bars that were crushing his neck. His ripple is very strong, being a combination of imperfect ripple and William's perfect ripple. As you may remember, William Zeppeli was a ripple master, and Jonathan is fluent in 5 million ways to beat you up. Joseph Joestar is the grandson of Jonathan Joestar, the most faithful husband of Battle Tendency. He looks like he's from a lower class, with his low-class clothes and mannerisms. He has some of the same abilities as Jonathan, but not all of them, just some. Everything comes down to hitting with Hamon and transferring it to other objects, probably due to the passive ability of clairvoyance of Hermit Purple. He can predict the exact and specific phrase that his opponent will say. Even though he's not very strong, this guy is smart, he's a trickster, and it also seems like he was born under a lucky star because he's incredibly lucky. He was able to defeat a perfect being because of a totally random volcano eruption, but that's only in part 2 when he's at the peak of his vitality and Hamon training. After that, he stops training Hamon. George Joestar, actually known as Joji, is the young detective in the George Joestar light novel. He's just a generic 15-year-old boy, but he's extremely intelligent and has become a detective at such a young age. He's basically a little Sherlock Holmes. His primary ability is a Beyond, which is like a stand called Trinity, but don't worry, I'll explain. In George Joestar, there's a power called Beyond, which is like the Dark Determination in Steel Ball Run. Instead of making your eyes catch fire and filling you with rage, wanting to beat up the first person you see, Beyond gives you determination, confidence, and even makes Jesus Christ appear behind you. No, it's not a joke. That's what the power does. But he also has a stand, which is quite strong and a bit overpowered, called U-Boat Ultimate. For those who haven't read the novel or seen the video of Cars' stand, yes, Cars is in this novel and has stands. It's bizarre. U-Boat Ultimate is one of his stands. The U-Boat can shrink or grow to fit inside a person or contain multiple people, and it has everything a regular submarine has. It's summoned by the user's arm, has a sonar that locates objects from the radar of the submarine, and it's very powerful. If you activate the sonar with an extremely loud sound while the submarine is inside a person's body, the person will start writhing on the ground and their brain will turn to jelly. The U-boat has missiles, weapons, and torpedoes that can be fired from the submarine or the user's body. They also ignore the laws of physics and fly at the same speed in both the sky and space. Isaac Newton is rolling in his grave after reading this. It's even stronger when combined with the fact that the submarine can swim in the sky and space. But why is it before Crazy Diamond and Stone Free if it's so powerful, and Joji can simply fly and shoot from a distance? It's because if we consider the fact that he needs to summon the submarine on his arm and guide it to the enemy's body or increase its size to enter and fly, he has a huge mobility disadvantage. Nobody is going to sit there politely waiting for him to finish the whole process before attacking him. Jolene Cujo is the perverted prisoner with highlighter-colored hair, sporting an outfit that exposes her midriff like Billie Eilish. Her stand is Stone Free, which has the strength of a free stone and the speed of a small, incredibly fast meteor. Despite being strong, it is easily surpassed by many stands in close combat within the manga. As a passive ability, Jolene can unravel her body into blue strings without taking damage, up to 70% of her body length, and with a maximum range of about 24 meters. However, the more she unravels her body, the weaker the resistance of her strings becomes, making them easier to break under pressure. She can also combine the strings to summon Stone Free, which has a range of 2 meters. Her potential for development is rated as A, and it's not for nothing her ability is incredibly versatile and can be used in various ways. By manipulating her strings, she can communicate with people at a distance, create a sturdy rope, make a net capable of catching bullets, fish, tie up others, make a complex patterned fabric for a painting, swing like Tarzan, pick pockets, break locks, and steal cars. In short, she's specialized in 5 million different ways to rob you. Josuke Higashikata from Diamond is unbreakable as our rich boy. He has this steak hair and wears a stylized high school uniform. His stand, Crazy Diamond, is quite strong and can hold its own against stands like Killer Queen. When Josuke gets really angry, his strength increases and can be compared to Star Platinum from Part 4, reaching speeds of approximately 300 kilometers per h, 186 miles, with just a punch. He also has great precision and can concentrate enough to shoot a rifle bullet with his fingers up to 7 meters, 3,000 feet away. Josuke's primary ability is to repair anything that is damaged by punching it. He can fix anything that was broken and restore it to its previous state. However, this ability cannot revive the dead or heal Josuke's own injuries, which can be a huge disadvantage in a fight. Also, if Yosuke attempts to fix something while he is angry, he can end up making a mistake, just like he did with the guy who made fun of his hair. This means that the effectiveness of his ability depends on Josuke's emotional state. Yes, here's a list of JoJo characters, and Kira Yoshikage is on the list. Now you might ask why? It's because he's a JoJo by association, being the great-grandson of Johnny Joestar. This time around, Johnny's a surgeon, and believe it or not, he doesn't have any hand fetishes. This is Kira from Part 8, where the character is a fusion of Kira and Josefumi, and the Lokakaka fruit ends up merging them. Despite that, Kira is still a Joestar, and in an equivalent exchange, he ends up dying. So Gappy isn't Kira, he's just a part of him. Kira is a user of Killer Queen, and in terms of strength and ability, he's just as powerful as Killer Queen in the original universe. Like in the original, anything that the stand or user touches becomes an incendiary bomb that explodes on contact, and he can control the force, power, and size of the explosion. He also has sheer heart attack, but he's more precise when creating it. He can change its size, amount, and even the trajectory of these heat bombs. He can create small bombs that are small enough to pass through a human vein, and he can also make them big enough to blow up a whole village. The original Killer Queen was able to use the air bubbles of stray cats and turn them into bombs that could explode on contact. This Kira doesn't need stray cats, as he can create explosive bubbles on his own, which also detonate on contact. He can also control both the trajectory and force of the explosion, and he can apply it to objects and even someone's skin, just like how stray cats used its air bubbles. Now people are going to cry. Johnny Joestar is our favorite insect-stung, wheelchair-bound character in Steel Ball Run, mainly because he is the only one who is like that. He is like Axl Rose, but in a wheelchair and with a perfectly proportioned rear end. With each act of his stand, his power evolves, so let's consider him at his peak with Act 4 of Tusk. Firstly, he has the ability to shoot his nails with the golden spin. His nails come out of his fingers, spinning in a vertical direction, like arrows, drills, bullets, etc. This makes them pierce the air with more force, giving them even more destructive power, but they take some time to recharge. Secondly, he can move the portal created by the impact of the nail on the target, or he can let the portals hunt the target automatically by their own consciousness, like a guided missile. These portals move along the surface they're on, and the objects touching that surface. For example, if he shoots a nail into the ground and makes a hole, he can move the hole along the ground and up walls fixed to the ground. But wait, there's more. Johnny can create a portal on the ground, where he can teleport body parts through the portal to another portal. If an enemy enters one of these portals, created by him, they are brutally torn apart, because inside these portals, there is a spiral rotating infinitely. A spiral that rotates around a tiny point, the smallest possible point. And as his final power, when Johnny uses a vehicle to gain speed, he can perform the perfect spin, the golden spin, which can surpass any interdimensional barrier. Moreover, if his nail with the golden spin hits a target, every atom of that target will spin infinitely and will not stop until it disintegrates, no matter if it tries to change dimensions or go to another universe. The spin only leaves it after it dies, or if Johnny shoots another nail in the opposite direction. When he shoots the nail with the golden spin, he invokes Tusk Act 4, which is incredibly powerful. Its destructive power is A, and its speed is B, so you can imagine the chaos it causes. The only problem is that it needs a vehicle to be activated to its full potential, and in Johnny's case, it's a horse, so if he misses, he becomes vulnerable to all kinds of attacks. Gappy Ujosuke Higashikata is the mixed great-grandson of Johnny Joestar with Alzheimer's problems. He is an early sailor who gets aroused just by receiving a hug and has a giant gap in the middle of his teeth, hence the nickname Gappy. His abilities are, oh boy, I forgot. Just kidding. He possesses the stand soft and wet. Who came up with that name? His strength is not very great, but his speed can give a good beating to several stands, and his strength is powerful enough to destroy a wall with a kick. His primary ability is to create soap bubbles, which can trap anyone depending on their size, even being able to levitate the target, and can be created in large numbers, being launched in a barrage of attack. Additionally, Gappy can use these bubbles to steal anything material or immaterial he wants, from the water in someone's body to someone's vision, and can also put what was stolen in another person. But after some time, the stolen item returns to its original owner. These bubbles can be controlled with precision and can be made with any liquid substance he wants. Later in JOJO Lion, Gappy discovered that in fact, his bubbles are thinner than nylon, spinning strings of spin that rotate at an extreme speed, making them appear as a transparent floating bubble. However, this power is described as something impossible to exist in this universe, because the strings are infinitely thin, practically in the state of zero, because they are so thin, and the speed at which they spin is so extreme that they are theoretically non-existent, as if he transcends that universe. This makes the calamity of Wonder of You not affect the bubble. But now, the business gets even more overpowered. For those who don't know, Gappy is a fusion of Kira Yoshikage, Johnny's great-grandson, and Josefumi Kujo, who fused through the equivalent exchange of the Lokakaka fruit. But before merging, his stand was Killer Queen, which could create explosive bubbles without needing Stray Cat. So, upon discovering how his new power works, Gappy combines the explosive power of Killer Queen with the bubbles of Soft and Wet, transforming it into Soft and Wet Go Beyond, where he can create spin explosive bubbles. These bubbles, despite not being controllable with precision, can surpass any barrier, because if he exists in that universe, he has surpassed the barrier between the two dimensions, and if they touch something, the damage is guaranteed. A skinning machine. Many will wonder why he is not in first place, since many theorize that Golden Experience Requiem wouldn't be able to nullify spin bubbles because they don't exist in that universe, being something that already exists in Point Zero. Well, it's not known if GER would nullify them or not, but if we consider brute force, GER destroys Soft and Wet without ceremony. The maximum demonstration of the stand's strength was breaking a wall with a kick, while GER went through someone's hand just by flicking a stone. Not to mention that the bubbles are not controlled with extreme precision. And in Requiem form, Golden Experience has its old healing abilities, but stronger, being able to heal easily. Alright, we're going to add Jotaro over Heaven, who is from the game Eyes of Heaven. He's the same as Jotaro, so I thought it was worth putting him here, but he's an over Heaven version. You'll understand because of the end of the game. As you already know, JoJo is that kid who takes steroids, has a face that few people like, and still has a loan shark cape. He has the same powers as Dio over Heaven, but buffed, in addition to absurd protagonism. After Dio uses his over Heaven powers, Jotaro says,
"Wait a minute, if our stands are of the same type, and yours can do those things, then mine, can it do the same?"
Oh man, not again!
And that's how he turns Star Platinum into Star Platinum over Heaven. Now the stand can, like Zawarudo over Heaven, revive the dead, stop time for an indeterminate period, probably longer than the world's since it has a higher evolutionary rate, suck souls, and above all, rewrite reality. When Star Platinum punches something, it can rewrite the reality of what it punched. That's how the world defeated GER, by rewriting the reality of its power. The stand itself, in its original form, could break a diamond with its fists, and in this form, its destructive power has been amplified. In addition, it has incredible accuracy, being able to draw the realistic body of a fly just by seeing it in a grainy photo, even though it's just a dot. As a common ability of the original stand, it has the star finger, where it extends the size of its two fingers very long. By the way, if you're of the right age, go get a prostate exam. It's not a matter of being macho or gay, it's a matter of health. And don't be afraid, because if all the problems in my life were solved with a finger, I'd be lucky. But you might ask, if Dio over Heaven defeated Giorno Requiem, and Jotaro has the same power as Dio but stronger, why isn't he ranked first? Because in the game, Giorno had been nerfed and could only use Return to Zero if he hit the target, which is different from the anime and manga. Giorno Giovanna is against drugs and a good criminal from Part 5 of JoJo. He has messy hair with 3 spikes on his head, a muscular chest, and the body of someone who is actually 15 years old but works out, unlike certain 15-year-old kids with the body of a 30-year-old. At his peak, meaning when he was pierced by the Requiem arrow, Giorno's old abilities were buffed, and he gained an even more powerful ability. The strength of his stand is so great that he was able to make a pointed stone pierce Diavolo's hand with a flick, yes, literally, a flick. His stats are all null, as if his strength transcends the universe. The guy is awesome, my friend. When he touches something lifeless, Giorno can transform it into a living organism, but this ability was also amplified. After the stone pierced his hand with the little stone, it destroyed a wall and turned into 4 black scorpions, meaning an object can turn into multiple lives. Hold on, the overpoweredness isn't over yet. This stand isn't considered the absolute defense for nothing. Its main ability is to return everything to zero. And what does it do? If you perform an action that will harm Giorno's physical integrity, the stand returns that action to its zero state, meaning it returns it to the beginning. So let's say you shoot at Giorno. He will nullify the action, but his power is so absurd, that instead of the action being nullified and the bullet simply returning to the gun barrel, since that's the zero state of the action shooting, he will make the gun return to your pocket so that you can't even draw the gun. What did you think of this list? I bet after this content, it's undeniable that you're already subscribed. And if you're not, there are 2 explanations. Either you're a cuckold or you forgot. If you have any suggestions, feel free to comment. I'll be reading the comments. You guys rock,
And don't use the devil's lettuce.